Welcome to Transformation Station. My name is Laura and I'm a designer at Fontys, where we develop and execute educational programs based on design-based learning principles. In this podcast, I'm going to take you on a journey through our programs in order to explore the topics of design, education, and changing the world. In this first season, we're going to zoom in on design and education. Why do we need design and education? How do the two relate to each other? And what actually happens when you combine the two? In each episode, I will be talking to one of our team members, an expert in the fields of design or education, or, most importantly, our very own students. Through their stories, you'll find out how we are trying to achieve our mission of making education and life one. And maybe you'll even find some inspiration to start a transformation of your own. So without further ado, let's get into today's conversation. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Transformation Station. Today I'm joined by Louis, who is one of our external experts who is supporting two meaningful challenges. And we're going to talk a bit about what it's like to be here as an external expert in a design challenge of our students, and also why he's actually here. So hi Louis.
Hello.
Can you maybe introduce yourself to the audience?
So my name is Luis Ferreira. I'm 20, Jesus, where am I going? Starting well. Blooper. I'm 31. And I came to the Netherlands about 7 years ago from Portugal. And what brought me here was the will to try something new, a different society, a different way of working, and even a different way of living. That's what encouraged me to try something outside of Portugal. And actually, this is the first time that I'm living abroad, that I moved abroad, and I think I got it right. Yeah, I like this. I like the Netherlands, and I like Eindhoven specifically. It's a very easy place to live.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that you've been here for so long already. So can you tell a bit more about everything that you've done here then, seeing this objective that you had?
Mm-hmm. I finished my studies in Portugal, and then even when I was still finishing my studies, or even before finishing...
what were you studying?
Computer engineering. Mm-hmm. So mostly software related, some electronics, but mostly software, I would say. And that's also why I chose to specialize as a software developer or as an architect designer. Software designer. Software architect. So I finished my studies in Portugal, and I tried to find some connections to other countries through the university. Mm-hmm. And that's actually what led me from the Portuguese university where I finished my studies into the TU, mm-hmm. which was my first workplace here in the Netherlands, and also my first job, which was focused on research for an X-ray machine developed in a partnership between several entities, one of them or two of them being Philips and the TUE. So this was my first job, and this was what brought me here to the Netherlands.
Okay, and what are you doing now?
So until 2 months ago, I was still doing basically the same thing as I started doing here, so software development, focused on robotics, more industrial purposes, let's say. But right now, what I'm doing here at Fontys is exactly getting a bit away from this industrial feeling, from this focus on requirements, focus on performance, mm-hmm. and do something that I feel more connection with, something more human. So also working more directly with people. Mm-hmm. So what I came here to do is to give support on technology, but the fact that I now work with people, with students, is a much different kind of work than the use of technology that I used to do before.
Mm-hmm. So what are you actually doing with technology and the students? Because you are a part of two of the meaningful challenges. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can give a bit of an introduction to both challenges and what your role in those challenges are?
Mm-hmm. So one of the challenges is related to creative coding. And this is actually the thing that pushed me out of the industry and showed me that I can do much more with technology. And the name for this is creative coding. But then exactly how that is displayed or what kind of things can I create with it is very broad. But one of the challenges that we are working on now is to use creative coding as a way to promote social inclusion, especially with expats coming to the Netherlands. And the students have the freedom to choose their target group, who they want to affect the most with this creative coding. If they want to work on new students that come here just temporary to Netherlands, if they want to talk to for example, the wives of the person that was actually destined to come here. Mm-hmm. So there's different target groups, and with the help of creative coding, I hope that I can help the students to create something that promotes dialogue, that so that awakes some emotions, because that's actually the important thing about creative coding that makes it different from what I was doing it before. It's supposed to be expressive. It's not supposed to be focused on one objective or produce a result. Mm-hmm. It's about the experience that you get from it.
Okay, so I'm really interested. What have you seen from the students up to now? How are they getting along with this technology and this challenge?
So it is a very challenging. This project, this meaningful challenge, I would say it's quite challenging. Mm-hmm. Because they both have to come up with a creative way to give an incentive to social inclusion, and that by itself is already complicated. But then they also need the technical skills to actually do some programming, some coding. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that they can share the tasks between themselves, between the more technical students and the less technical students, because they in creative terms, I believe that they can all think of a situation where they have been, well, specifically for the expat students, mm-hmm. but even for the Dutch students, everyone should have a situation, especially here in Eindhoven, where there's so much contact between Dutch and non-Dutch communities. Mm-hmm. All of them should have an idea of how to make this approach easier, make this inclusion easier. Yeah. And I'm hoping that through creative coding, and for example, specifically using graphics, and in a way very abstract graphics to generate some emotions, to create some thoughts in your head just by the use of simple shapes, movement, color. These are all things that despite not being obvious, you can really get a lot of emotions from abstract shapes moving around, for example.
Yeah, wow, that sounds really cool. So you mentioned that the students also need to get along with coding while also coping with a challenge that is already difficult. What have you done with the students in this challenge up to now to support them with that?
So also because I've been researching more creative coding and I've been getting more into it only over the last year, and for me this was a big jump, but I tried to show them the things that inspired me the most, the things that I myself draw out of creative coding. Mm-hmm.
Can you give an example, maybe?
Mm-hmm. So there's a feeling that I don't know if there's a word for it, but when things just fit in place, mm-hmm. When, for example, that shape just aligns perfectly with something else, with another shape, you get a feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, something like that. So that is a very common one that is easy to find within creative coding, because there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of geometric shapes, and there's a lot of things that are happening just based on mathematical equations, based on formulas. So what you get from these formulas, or from the use of these formulas, is that you get something that is being displayed with the help of technology, so it feels digital, technological in a way, but still you can replicate a lot of the things that happen in nature. Mm-hmm. For example, in group behavior, groups of birds, groups of fishes, you can simulate these things in creative coding, and the idea is not to make a realistic fish, it's just to get that feeling of community out of several shapes, random shapes, just completely connected, completely coordinated within a screen, and feeling like you have control over what's happening since you are the artist, the person developing this. And for me, these are the kind of feelings that I can control something that happens in nature, in real life. Mm-hmm. I can take advantage of that and I can use it in creative coding. And that's a more natural approach to coding that I find very interesting, and that I try to show with examples to the students to inspire them.
Wow, that's really cool, man. Yeah. So how was working with the students for you up to now? Because you already mentioned that this is completely new for you, but also more the human connection, that's really what you were looking for. Mm-hmm. How do you experience that?
It's funny, I don't know exactly how it is for the other teachers here, especially for the ones that have been doing it for long, but I still recognize a lot of things that I look in their faces and I recognize immediately the situation where they are in, whether it's confusion, where it's boredom from the class. I can still, it's not so long ago that I was in their situation, so I can still relate a lot to what I see. And tell me the question again? Just your experience with being with the students and working with them. So this ability to see, well, a bit myself in what they are doing, this is a bit of a nostalgic feeling. So in a good way, my university times were good times, let's say, and having a feeling that I can actually, for one side, inspire someone, and then from the other side, that I actually have someone curious, interested in listening to what I have to say. Those two things are very, very important for me. They give me energy instead of taking it at the end of the day. I get to the end of the day of the workday working here, and I still have energy to go on. I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling inspired. And that's something that I cannot say from my previous job, my desk job.
Wow, that's really nice. Well, maybe to round off our conversation, I have one last question for you. So you will be here for the remainder of the Meaningful Challenge, which is coming to an end, sadly, because I really like having you around. So what are you looking forward to most for the remainder of this challenge?
I think that would be so I really love the feeling of being amazed, of being wowed. If I can get that from a few of the groups, preferably all of them, at the end, that would be amazing. If I could feel that I could... So the fact that it amazes me is because they created something that I was not expecting. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I did not teach them fully, at least. Mm-hmm. So having the feeling that I empowered or that I helped them push forward more than I even myself expected, that's the feeling that I would like to have at the end.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story and your experiences. And that was it for the recording.
Thank you.
Cool. That's it for today's episode. If you want to know more about Pulsed, our programs, and what our students get up to, you can find us on social media at Fontys Pulsed on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn, or visit our website pulsed-edu.com. That's pulsed-edu.com. Or come visit us. We're in the S3 building on the TU campus, which is at Lismortel 25. You're always welcome to come see our epic workplace and see what our students get up to in real life. And next to that, I would of course love to have you back for the next episode of Transformation Station. A new episode comes every 2 weeks, so I hope to see you in the next one.